Returning home from my trip was completely unexpected. I had originally planned to spend an extra day in Chicago, but my meetings finished earlier than expected. As I drove back, I felt relaxed, satisfied with having closed a major business deal. The familiar sights of the neighborhood gave me a sense of comfort, and I was excited to surprise my wife, Sonia. Little did I know, my life was about to change dramatically. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw a car that I knew well, my father's. It didn't seem odd at first, since I often asked him to check on Sonia when I was away. But as I stepped inside, the sounds coming from the upstairs bedroom immediately shattered my calm. In a moment, I understood that the favor I'd asked of him had turned into something far beyond what I'd imagined. Before they noticed me, I quickly snapped 7 pictures. David jumped off the bed, demanding I hand over the camera. Without a second thought, I reached behind and pulled out the tool I had concealed in my waistband, pointing it right at him. He froze, smirking as he said, "You won't do it." I aimed at his leg and pulled the trigger, forcing him to the ground in agony. "You did that to your own brother?" my father said in disbelief. "The only reason I'm not going to end you is because I don't want to deprive Mom of the pleasure of cutting your Johnson off." Sonia, my wife of 9 years, sat clutching a pillow, crying, "Please don't liquidate me." I ignored her and told my father, "I'm not sure what angers me more, your affair with my wife or the fact that you've done something with her she never allowed me to. Either way, I quit. You'll need to update the sign on the building from Dawson and Sons to Dawson and Son, or maybe just Dawson if that idiot bleeds out. No one seems to be rushing to call 911 for him." As I turned to leave, he called after me, "Where are you going?" "Over to your place to share my pictures with Mom." "Wait, Bobby, we need to talk." "You may feel the need to talk, but I sure don't feel the need to listen." As I walked out the door, he was yelling, "Bobby, for God's sake, talk to me." I ignored him, and as I reached my car, I shot out the right front and rear tires of his car with the 1911. Didn't want him speeding off to beat me to Mom. After driving a couple of blocks, I pulled over and called my mom. I preferred to give her the photos in person, but once 911 was called for David, the cops would likely be looking for me at my parents' house. When she answered, I told her I was sending her some pictures she needed to see before Dad got home. She had questions, but I told her I'd call later. I checked the time. Still had an hour before the bank closed. As I drove over, I thought about what had just happened. I'd come home a day early from a business trip and saw my father's car in the driveway. I didn't think much of it since I always asked him to check on Sonia while I was away. Of course, when I said to see if she needed anything, I didn't mean what was actually happening. As soon as I walked through the front door, the noises from the bedroom made everything clear. I went to the den, grabbed my .45 from the lockbox and tucked it behind my belt just in case. Then I pulled out my phone, turned on the camera, and headed for the bedroom. Sonia was on her knees with David, while my father was doing something she'd never let me do. Suddenly, it made sense why I was the only son who got sent away on business trips while David stayed behind. At the bank, I closed out all our accounts and cashed the 6 certificates of deposit from the safe deposit box. I walked out with just over $18,000. Then I went to the bank where the company's accounts were held and withdrew $15,000. Call it severance, though some might say it was embezzlement. But who's worried about that when I'm likely already wanted for assault with a deadly Colt? Before leaving town, I called David's wife, Cindy. She was on her way to the hospital to see David, and as soon as she heard my voice, she asked, "Bob, what is going on? Your dad said you shot Dave." I came home early and caught him with Sonia. I took pictures. When he tried to grab the camera, I shot him in the leg. I'm sending the pictures to your email. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but you deserve to know. Take care. I hung up and drove out of town. 5 miles down the road, I pulled over, removed the battery from my phone to avoid being tracked, and kept driving. I'd get a throwaway phone later to keep the pictures safe. 2 days later, I arrived in Colorado and checked into a motel outside Denver. Out of curiosity, I called home using a track phone I picked up in Kansas. My father, if he wasn't dead, would still be at work. Mom answered on the 3rd ring. "Hello? Hey, Mom. Bob? Where are you?" Knowing the cops were probably looking for me, I lied. "Almost to New York." "Why in the world are you going there?" "Trying to put distance between me, Sonia, David, and Dad." "Did you really have to shoot David? He'll never walk right again." "He's lucky I didn't eliminate him. I figured Cindy might want that honor. She didn't liquidate him, but she did kick him out. That was harsh, sending her those pictures. I thought she had a right to know who she was married to. Same reason I sent them to you." It wasn't a surprise. I've known your dad's had affairs, but I overlooked it to keep the family together. But Sonia? I couldn't ignore that. I kicked him out and filed for divorce the next day. You should come back. I'll end up with most of the business and I need your help. How do you figure that? The business was started with money from my inheritance. My attorney says I'll get 60 to 65%, which will give me control. I'm going to need you. Are you going to run it as Dawson and Sons or Dawson and Son, with the son being me? Don't be like that, Bob. Dave is my son, too. If he's there, I won't be. I'll want to hurt him. You need to call Sonia. She wants to talk. But I don't want to talk to her, so I'll pass. You'll have to eventually. Divorce almost always requires some counseling. What divorce? I walked away from her. I'm not wasting money on a lawyer. Someday she'll want to be free and can handle it herself. Do you have to call her names? What else would you call a married woman having intimacy with two men on her husband's bed? Ho is pretty mild. Anyway, I just called to let you know I'm okay. I'll check in once a week. Love you. Bye. Nothing was mentioned about the $15,000 I took from the company account, so I guess they hadn't noticed yet. I spent a week in Denver exploring, and while it was a nice place and the mountains had some appeal, I decided it was too soon to settle down. I needed to keep moving to make it harder for anyone to track me. I stopped in Castle Rock for lunch at Tricocci's and called Mom to check in, but she didn't answer. On a whim, I called the business. Good morning, Dawson and Sons. How may I direct your call? Morning, Glenda. Is my mom there? Bobby, where are you? This place is falling apart. You need to come back. No, thanks. Is my mom there? I'll transfer you. Bob? Morning, Mom. How's New York? I'm already past that. I didn't like it much. I'm in Georgia now, thinking about settling here. You need to come home. I can't. I need time to process everything. If I came back now, I might do something I'd regret. Would you at least call Sonia? She's not doing well. She's in this mess because of her choices. She can fix it. I'm worried she might hurt herself. Like what? Self-destruction? It's possible. Well, that'd be quicker than a divorce. That's cold. Cold? Try coming home to what I did. Sonia's lucky I didn't shoot her, too. Don't mention her name to me again. I didn't raise you like this. Mom, do you remember who she was with? Talk later. I hung up, nearly throwing the phone in frustration. I couldn't believe she was still defending Sonia. I left Castle Rock and drove south on I-25. I had no clear destination, but for now, just moving was enough. Around 2, I stopped at a truck stop for gas and a quick meal. As I parked, there was a tap on my window. I looked over and saw a young woman standing there. I rolled down the window. Yes? She hesitated, glancing around nervously, then finally spoke. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I'll give you a head for $20. I could tell she wasn't a professional. $20 wasn't what a pro would ask for. I hit the button to roll up the window, and she looked devastated, thinking I was rejecting her. But I got out of the car, locked it, and said, Come on, let's get you something to eat. I offered her my hand, and after some hesitation, she took it. I'm Bob. What's your name? Maggie. Maggie Toman. We didn't speak again until we were sitting in a booth inside. I know it's not my business, but what brings you to a truck stop like this? Before she could answer, the waitress came to take our order. Maggie asked for a burger and fries. That won't fill you up. Let's both get the steak dinner. Once the waitress left, I asked Maggie for her story. She hesitated, but eventually opened up. She was running from an abusive stepfather and a mother too drunk to care. Her stepdad had been clear about his intentions, and her mom was too pilled up to stop him. So Maggie took what money she could and left while they slept. Her plan was to get to Houston, where her sister lived. She bought a bus ticket to Denver, intending to take a train to Houston. But on the bus, she fell asleep, and when she woke up in Denver, her purse was gone, stolen before anyone noticed. I asked why her stepfather hadn't acted on his threats, and she explained he didn't want to go to jail for being with a minor. A minor? How old are you? I turned 18 the day I ran. I was surprised. I thought you were older. Why didn't you just report him? I tried, but he said it would be his word against mine, and my mom would back him because she depended on him for pills. I wasn't willing to take that chance. We ate our meals in silence, and afterward, she declined dessert. Then she said, Let's go to your car so I can fulfill my part of the deal and get back to hitchhiking. While eating, I had been thinking about her situation and made up my mind. I wasn't headed anywhere specific, just trying to get away from what happened at home. After paying the bill, we went to my car. I opened the door for her and got in. She said, I don't know if I'll be any good at this. I've never done it before. It doesn't matter. Today's your lucky day. I'm not going to take you up on your offer. I'd feel like a creep if I did. Your second bit of luck is I'm heading to Houston, so you already have your ride. Buckle up. I started the car. I had heard stories about hitchhikers hijacking rides, but I wasn't too worried about Maggie. If she did try anything, the 1911 in the door pocket was within easy reach. I drove until 8 p.m. and stopped at a truck stop for gas. I asked if she was hungry, and she said yes, so we went inside for another meal. While waiting, I asked, "Does your sister know you're coming?" "No, I was going to call her in Denver, but my phone was stolen with my purse." I handed her my phone. "Call her." I left her alone to make the call, wandering the store and picking up a road atlas. When I came back, the food had arrived, and Maggie had finished her call. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, my sister's excited to see me. She told me Mom called her asking if she had heard from me. Mom even sounded sober for once. Kathy said if I call, I should talk to her." I pointed to my phone. "Go ahead." "Not yet. Maybe in a couple of days." Back on the road, Maggie asked, "You know my story. What's yours?" I told her. "Your father and brother? And you didn't liquidate them? What about your wife?" "Didn't ask. I just left. Maybe she was being forced or blackmailed." "She wasn't forced. I could tell by how she acted. And if it was blackmail, she could have told me, and we'd have dealt with it together. I still think you should know why. Maybe someday, but not now." We stopped at a Days Inn. I was going to book 2 rooms, but Maggie said she didn't want to stay alone, so I got a room with twin beds. She went to shower, and I got into bed. When she came out, she glanced at the other bed, then crawled into mine. I wasn't comfortable with that. "The other bed is yours." "I don't want to be there. I want to be here." She touched me, her hand moving down my body. I grabbed her wrist. "No, but I want to. I owe you." "No, you don't. You were desperate when you made that offer. I'm just glad I could help. I'm not doing it to pay a debt. I want to thank you for being kind to me. I want to do this because I want to. Is that okay? I'm not a saint, and she was attractive. I didn't owe Sonia anything, so I let go of Maggie's wrist. She took that as a green light. She pushed the covers aside, slid down, and said, "I've never done this before, but I've seen it in videos. Let me know if I'm doing it wrong." Usually I'd warn Sonia when I was about to finish, but I didn't tell Maggie. I thought I was doing her a favor, teaching her something future boyfriends would appreciate. "My friends warned me it would hurt at first, but improve over time," she said. "How long until we can go again?" she asked. I told her it would be a little while, but we needed to clean up the mess first. She was shocked at the mess, worried about the motel staff, and hurried to clean up before suggesting we continue. However, I reminded her we needed to head to Houston soon. She wasn't in a rush, preferring to stay and repeat the experience while it was fresh in her mind. I agreed, thinking it might be a while before I had another opportunity like this. We stayed until checkout, trying different positions and experimenting with things she'd seen online. I even got the chance to try something I'd always wanted, but past partners hadn't allowed. After multiple rounds, we cleaned up and hit the road again. Though late, we stopped for the night before reaching her sister's. The next morning, she was eager to continue, and we didn't arrive at her sister's until late afternoon. She asked if I was coming in, but I knew we didn't have a future together, so I told her I had to get going. She seemed disappointed, but thanked me with a smile, and I watched her go inside. Later, as I checked into a motel, I wondered what to do next, and decided to visit the Alamo. On the way, I picked up a hitchhiking couple, but things took a dangerous turn when the man pulled a knife on me. As he demanded my car and money, I calmly reached for my .45, ready to respond. I had the Colt in my hand, but before I could react, the woman in the back seat looped her purse straps around the man's neck and yanked hard. He dropped the knife, struggling to breathe. I put the tool away, pulled over, and got out. After opening the passenger door, I told her to let go, and she did. The man slumped unconscious, so I dragged him out of the car, checked his pulse, and undressed him. I rolled him into the ditch and threw his clothes in the trunk. Then I asked the woman, Sarah, if she wanted to sit up front. "You're not going to leave me here?" she asked. "Why would I?" I replied. "You took my side." She shrugged, moved to the front seat, and I turned the car around, heading back toward San Antonio. Once we were on our way, I asked, "So, you weren't involved with him?" "No, I've only known him for an hour. My car broke down, and he stopped to offer a ride. He expected something in return, but I was just playing along until I could ditch him. When he pulled that knife, I wasn't about to be part of it, so I used the straps." "An hour? Why didn't he drop you off to get your car fixed?" "It wasn't mine. It's my husband's company car, and I'm sure he's already reported it stolen. I was planning to ditch it at the airport in San Antonio and fly to San Diego." She must have noticed the look on my face, so she explained, "I caught my husband cheating and slept with his brother to get back at him. I told him we were even, but he called me a hoe and said, men can cheat, but women can't. That night, I took the car and left. In the morning, I cleared out our bank accounts and hit the road. I laughed. She asked why, and I told her it was ironic because our situations were similar. After I shared my story, she said, "What are the odds? I assume you're not getting back with her." Not a chance. She was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Why do people like that even get married? If they're going to cheat, why not stay single?" No idea. I didn't stick around long enough to ask. Changing the subject, I asked, "What's in San Diego?" "My family. I'll stay with them until I get back on my feet." "You in a hurry to get there?" "Not really." "Why?" I explained that I was on my way to see the Alamo, and after that, I had no specific plans. I suggested tagging along to San Diego since I'd never been there. She smiled. "Why not? I'd save on airfare, and Mom isn't expecting me at a specific time. Count me in." When we arrived in San Antonio, we got directions to the Alamo, had lunch, and then took the tour. Afterward, we explored the Riverwalk. I picked up a road atlas at a bookstore, and over dinner, I checked the best route to San Diego. It's about 1,500 miles, so it'll take us around 2.5 days. The book says 24 hours straight, but I've been taking my time driving around 600 or 700 miles a day. "Do you want to start driving tonight for a few hours or leave in the morning?" "I'm in no rush. Tomorrow works for me." After dinner, I found a motel, and as we pulled in, I asked, "Separate rooms, or will one with twin beds work?" She grinned and said, "One room, one bed. I'm not done getting even with my soon-to-be ex yet." I smiled back. "You got it." Her husband was a fool to cheat on her. She was incredible. She was nearly insatiable, and once we started, she didn't want to stop. We had lovemaking in different positions, and after we were both completely spent, we showered together, which led to another round. By the time we finished, I was exhausted. It took us 6 days to drive the 1,500 miles to San Diego. We arrived at 6 p.m. on a Saturday, and I asked for an address. "Not tonight," she replied. "I want one more night with you before we part ways. I'll call my mom and let her know we'll be there tomorrow." After I checked us into a motel, she called her mom while I took a shower for privacy. I wasn't surprised when she joined me. Things heated up, as expected, leading from the shower to the bed. She looked at me and asked, "Ever tried bum stuff?" "I have." "I haven't. My husband always wanted to, but I thought it was too much. But now, I want to try it with you." "Why now?" "I want to give you something I never gave him. Someday, I'll tell him how much I enjoyed it." "What if you don't like it?" "Doesn't matter, I won't tell him that." She did enjoy it and wanted to do it again and again. We arrived at her mom's house at 6 p.m. the next day. She looked at me with a sad smile. "I'd invite you in, but it'd be awkward. Mom said my husband is here to ask me to take him back." "Will you?" "I don't know. I do love him, but I left because he wanted a divorce. If you want me to stay, I will." Tempting, but it's too soon for me to decide. She handed me her number, kissed me deeply, and left. I was tempted to call her back, but instead I drove away. Later, I checked into a motel and had a bite to eat. I called my mom, but my dad answered, so I hung up. It was odd because Mom had said she kicked him out. On a whim, I called Cindy. "Hey, Cindy, it's Bob. What's going on? I called home and my dad answered." "Your mom let him come by to get his stuff. She's staying with your aunt for the weekend." "How about you?" "I filed for divorce. Dave's gonna fight it, but I told him to waste his money if he wants." "Did you know he and your dad moved in with Sonia?" "I didn't. But I don't care. They all deserve each other." "Amen to that. When are you coming back?" "I'm not. I don't want to end up in jail." "Why would you say that?" "Because I shot David." "No, you didn't." "Of course I did. Your dad and Dave told the police it was an accident. They said Dave shot himself while showing Sonia how to use that Colt you bought her." "How did they pull that off?" "Your dad fired a shot in the yard, then staged the scene. The police believed it." "And what about the tires I shot out on my dad's car?" "I don't think the cops ever found out." "Why did they cover it up?" "Your dad said the business couldn't handle a scandal. Dave wasn't happy. He wanted to nail you, but your dad stopped him." "I'm still not coming back, at least not soon. If I see my dad or Dave, I'd want to hurt them." "Your mom needs you, Rob. She needs help with the business. She's got David. He's useless. Now that your dad's not covering for him, it's obvious." She was right, I knew it, but I didn't care. If my dad didn't, why should I? "How are you holding up? You know how I am. You're probably dealing with the same mess." "I'm sorry for dragging you into this." "I'm glad you did. You saved me from becoming a single mom." After the call, I thought about what Cindy said. It didn't match up with what my mom told me. According to her, Sonia was desperate to talk to me, maybe even destructive. But how could she be, while letting those two losers move in? I shook my head. Unbelievable. I woke up to the sound of yelling outside. Looking out the window, I saw a man push a woman hard enough to knock her to the ground before speeding off in a car. I quickly pulled on my pants and went outside. "Are you okay?" I asked, as she sat there crying. "No, I'm not," she sobbed. I helped her up and asked which room was hers. "We don't have one. We already checked out. You can wait in my room if you want. He's not coming back. I'm stuck." "It can't be that bad. I've only got $40 and I need to get back to St. Paul. St. Paul, Minnesota? Yeah." I paused, thinking this might be her lucky day. "I'm heading to Minneapolis, which is close. Want a ride?" "Seriously?" she asked, surprised. "Yeah. How do I know you're not dangerous?" "Take my driver's license and car plate number. Call someone and give them the info. If anything happens, they'll know who to find." After a moment, she asked, "Are you going to try anything?" "I won't, but if you do, I won't stop you." "Pinky swear," she said, holding out her hand. We hooked fingers and I noticed her wedding ring. I figured I'd learn her story on the drive to St. Paul. I introduced myself as Bob, and she told me her name was Mary. We grabbed breakfast at IHOP, where she told me a bit about herself. She was 31, married with no kids, and worked as an office manager at a law firm in St. Paul. "Was that your husband who left you?" I asked. It was, "Are you sure he won't come back?" His last words were, "Forget you. I'm glad he's gone. I'll be filing for divorce as soon as I get back." I was curious but didn't press. I knew I'd hear more during the 2,000-mile drive. She asked about my story and I shared it, receiving a similar reaction to what I'd heard before. "Your father and brother did all that, and you didn't eliminate them. They weren't worth it. Are you going to divorce your wife?" I'm still undecided. "Seriously considering staying with her?" "No, but I might just wait and let her be the one to file. No sense in paying for it myself." After breakfast, we hit the road. I asked if she was in a rush to get home. "Not really," she said. 3 days sounds fine." We drove in silence for a while with her reading a book and me humming along to oldies on the radio. A couple of hours later, she put her book down and said, "I feel like I need to tell you what happened." I turned off the radio and she started explaining how she and her husband, Jake, had gone to Mexico and met up with old friends. One night, she drank too much and passed out. When she came to, she saw Jake with another woman, Nancy. The next morning, unsure if what she'd seen was real, she didn't mention it. But on the drive home, she brought it up, and Jake didn't deny it. Instead, he attacked her verbally, blaming her for not being good in bed. When she said she'd talk to a lawyer, he left her at the motel. We stopped for the night, and I asked if she wanted separate rooms. "No," she said. "I trust you." I wasn't sure I could trust myself. She was a beautiful woman. The room had twin beds. After she showered, I was already in bed. I said, "Good night," turned over, and fell asleep. I'd left a wake-up call at the desk, and when the phone rang at 7 in the morning, it woke me up. It woke Mary up as well, and she jumped out of bed, running to the bathroom. I sat on the side of the bed, watching her go, stunned. The toilet flushed, and she came back into the room. My body reacted instantly as she returned, and she noticed the look on my face before saying, "I should have waited for you to use the bathroom and put something on after. I'm just used to sleeping unclothed and walking around in the morning without thinking how it might affect you. I wish I had a camera to capture the moment of being in the presence of a goddess," I joked. She laughed and started getting dressed while I went to the bathroom. We had breakfast at the Village Inn, then hit the road. We didn't talk much during the drive. She read her book while I hummed to the music. We discussed our plans about our spouses during gas and lunch stops. She had a clear idea, but I was still undecided. That night, I booked another room with twin beds. Like before, I was already in bed when she came out of the bathroom. She glanced at the other bed and then at me. "Can I sleep with you tonight? I don't want to have Zex, just need to be held. Is that okay?" I wasn't sure if I could control myself. I had promised not to make a move on her, but with her lying next to me, I wasn't confident I'd be able to. Still, I pulled back the covers and she climbed into bed next to me. "Just hold me," she said. I wrapped my arms around her and she pressed against me. She must have felt my hardness, but instead of pulling away, she shifted so I was nestled against her. It was the hardest temptation I've ever faced, but I managed to stay in control. I woke up with my arms around her, holding her close. As I tried to gently pull away, she woke up, patted my hand, and then got out of bed to head into the bathroom. "Over breakfast," she said. "I didn't think you could resist." "Resist what?" I asked, sleeping next to me, unclothed and not trying anything. Honestly, neither did I. We arrived in St. Paul around 5:30 in the afternoon. I asked for directions, and she eventually said, "Turn in here." "Here?" I asked, noticing the Best Western sign. Yes, I want what I didn't get last night. I expected it and wanted it, but I didn't think you'd actually ignore an unclothed woman in your bed. I know you said you wouldn't make a move, but I didn't think you'd really hold back. Didn't you see me getting unclothed as a signal? No, you said you wanted to be held, and I believed you. Well, I'm coming after you now, and I'm not going to run. I couldn't understand why her husband cheated on her because she was incredible. She wore me out with her energy, wanting more after each round. No matter what she did, I couldn't keep up anymore. When I asked if she wanted to leave, she said, "No, I'm staying right here. I'm going to snuggle up to you and try for one more round in the morning." She cuddled up and we fell asleep together. In the morning, I woke up to her being very intimate with me. After breakfast, she gave me directions, and by noon, I arrived at a ranch-style house with a large front yard. She reached for the door and said, "Come on in." "I'm not sure I should," I replied. "Why not?" "I'm not great with confrontations." "Confrontations? Oh no, this is my sister's house, not Jake's. He's not welcome here." I went inside and met her sister Julia, her niece, and her niece's boyfriend. Mary explained what had happened in Mexico and San Diego, and Julia said, "I've always told you your husband was no good." During the conversation, it came up that I was from Michigan. Mary pushed me to share my story, and I got a lot of sympathy. Julia then asked if I was heading back to Michigan and said it was too bad I wasn't, as her daughter and boyfriend were going to the University of Michigan and could have ridden with me to save on airfare. I hadn't planned on going back right away, but I knew I would have to eventually. "When are you leaving?" I asked Jess. "Day after tomorrow," she said. "Okay, I'll take you," I agreed. Mary and I stayed for another hour before heading out. Once in the car, she said, "I can't ask you to stay at the house, but if you get a motel, I promise you won't be lonely." I agreed, and she directed me to a motel near her place. I checked in, got 2 keys, gave her one, and then dropped her off at home. That evening, there was a knock at the door, which surprised me since Mary had a key. I opened it to find Julia. "May I come in?" she asked. As soon as I let her in, she explained, "Mary told me everything about your trip. I've been desperate for physical connection since my husband passed 9 months ago, but people here expect me to mourn for a year. You're not from around here, and you'll be gone soon, so no one will know. If you're as kind as Mary says, I thought you could help me." Julia was older, but still attractive, and I didn't owe anyone loyalty. I pulled her close, and we started undressing. She was the first woman I'd been with who was completely shaved. After I pleasured her, we made love. She was insatiable, and we went at it until I couldn't keep up anymore. Once we finished, she quickly dressed and said, "I promised Mary I'd leave her enough." She kissed me and left. About 20 minutes later, Mary came in with her key. "Did Julia leave enough for me?" she asked with a grin. "With a little help, I'm sure I can manage." Mary knew exactly what to do, and we enjoyed the night together. Afterward, she cuddled up and said, "Let's get some rest. Maybe we'll pick up where we left off in the morning." The next morning, Mary woke me with a kiss, and we had one last round before she got ready for work. She passed on the idea of showering together, saying, "I need to start my divorce paperwork, and if I shower with you, I won't make it out of this room today." As she dressed, she asked what my plans were for the day. I told her I'd probably stay in the room and read. Apparently, she relayed that to Julia, because later that morning, there was another knock on the door. It was Julia again. "May I come in?" she asked, smiling as she stepped in and immediately began undressing. "I know I'm taking advantage of you being here, but I only have until tomorrow. Mary said she doesn't mind if I borrow you, do you?" I didn't mind at all. We had a pleasant morning together before she left, reminding me to pick up the kids the next day. Before she left, Julia kissed me goodbye and said, "I wouldn't be upset if you came back to live here. I'll be ready to start dating in a couple of months. Who knows? I haven't figured out what I'm doing yet. Maybe I will." Mary arrived that evening and asked the same question as before. Did she leave enough for me? She had, just barely. In the morning, after a memorable wake-up, Mary hugged me and said, "I'm glad you're leaving today, and I mean that in a good way. Once Jake gets served, I need to stay spotless so he doesn't have anything to use against me. If you stayed, it would be too tempting." She kissed me goodbye and left. I saw I had some time before picking up the kids at Julia's, so I called home. "Good morning, Dawson and Sons. How may I help you?" "Morning, Glenda. Is my mom available?" "Bobby, even if she wasn't, I'm supposed to put you through immediately. Please tell me you're coming home." "I might be. Not certain yet." "I'll get your mom." 2 rings later. "Bobby, where are you?" "St. Paul, Minnesota." "What are you doing there? Getting ready to leave and come home?" "Thank God. I need you back to help with the business." "I said I'm coming back, but not to work. Robert, I need you here. And how are you going to keep me and David apart? You know if I see him, I won't be able to stop myself. Don't worry about him. I caught him stealing from the company and I had to let him go. I was stunned into silence. Finally, I said, I took $15,000 from the company before I left. I didn't think it was stealing, just severance for what Dad did to me. How is that piece of trash anyway? I don't know and don't care. Sonia kicked him and David out. Did you know they moved in with her? Cindy told me. She kicked them out too. We can settle the money later. You're still listed as being on paid leave. You may have to pay some of it back though. I wasn't worried since the money was still untouched. I told Mom I'd see her in a couple of days and headed to Julia's to pick up the kids. Julia greeted me warmly and said goodbye to her daughter Jessica, reminding her to do well at school. After loading Jess's bags, I asked when we'd pick up Mike. Mike's not coming. We broke up last night when I found out about him and Abby Fisk. Although I'd been on a bit of a wild streak lately, I pushed away any thoughts about being alone with Jess. As we drove, we talked about her plans. She was heading to U of M on a scholarship to study pre-law. She preferred reading, so I found a country station and hummed along to the music. After a few hours on the road, Jess asked where we'd stop for the night. No need to. It's only 600 miles. We'll get there by 8. But I want to stop. I don't need to check into the dorms until the day after tomorrow. Plus, you'd miss check-in, so you'd need to find a place for the night anyway. A few minutes passed before she added, Besides, I want to find out for myself. Find out what? I overheard my mom and Aunt Mary talking. I want to see if what they said about you is true. What did they say? That you have a magical tongue and are amazing with women. You can't be serious. I am. My only experiences were with guys my age who had no idea what they were doing. Do you have a wild side? What? Ever want to do something adventurous, like maybe being with a mother and daughter or with all the women in a family? My grandmothers are gone, so it's just me, my mom, and Aunt Mary. So you're saying you have a wild side? Because I want to see what the man who slept with my mom and aunt is like? You've got it. I don't know if I can handle the pressure. You're expecting some kind of expert, and I don't know if I can live up to that. My mom raved about you to Aunt Mary. That's enough for me. Besides, with your experience, you have to be better than the guys I've been with. My first time was awful. After prom, my date rushed through it, finished in a minute, and thought it was great. I was in pain and furious. You have to be better than that. I sure hope so. Once I was completely done, she rolled over, looked up at me, and said, Thank you. I'm glad you convinced me. Can we do it again? We did, and we stayed in the room, except for meals, until just before she had to check in at the dorms. I helped her carry her bags, and she gave me her number, kissed me, and said, Don't be a stranger, I'll need you. You've spoiled me. No one my age will ever compare after this. One more kiss, and I left feeling on top of the world. Take that, Sonia. From Ann Arbor, it was a short drive to Ypsilanti. I checked into a motel, left a wake-up call, and grabbed breakfast before heading to Dawson & Sons the next morning. Even though I had keys, I didn't want to just let myself in. George, the security guard, opened the door at 8 and greeted me with a welcome back. Glenda ran up, hugged me, and said, Thank God you're back. Maybe now we can fix this place. Is Mom in? In her office. When I walked in, Mom looked up and said, About time you showed up. There's a pile of work waiting for you. I haven't decided if I'm staying yet. Nonsense, you're needed here. You can't run from your problems forever. Now get to work. We'll talk at lunch. She was right, so I got to it. It wasn't as bad as she made it sound, but there was still a lot to handle. At lunchtime, Mom and I went to Pegasus. After ordering, she asked if I'd been home yet. I told her I stayed in a motel. Why didn't you just go home? Because Sonia's there. You'll have to face her sooner or later, so why not now? Why are you so eager for me to deal with her? After everything with Dad, you should want nothing to do with her. It might not make sense, but I want my Robbie back, and that won't happen until you get closure. You need answers to your questions. Questions? Yes, like why she did it. Was it just your father and brother? Did you do something to push her away? Until you know, you won't move on. I knew she was right, but I wasn't sure I wanted those answers. Was it something I did? And why with my father and brother? After lunch, I made a dent in the work pile. At 5:30, I left the office and sat in my car debating where to go, right to the motel or left to the house. Taking a deep breath, I turned left. Sonia's car was in the garage. I sat in the driveway, gathering my courage. Finally, I got out and walked to the door. Before I could knock, Sonia opened it, rushed at me, and threw her arms around me, crying, "Thank God you're okay!" Stunned, I just stood there. Then I gently pushed her away and walked into the house. She followed me, sobbing, "Why did you push me away? I love you." I turned to her. You love me, but you slept with my father and brother? I'd hate to see what you'd do if you hated me. You don't understand. I had to do it. You had to? This I've got to hear. Go sit in the kitchen while I pour a drink. With a drink in hand, I sat across from her. I don't want to be here, but Mom convinced me to face you. So go ahead, Sonia. Tell me. Remember Karen's birthday party? The one you couldn't attend because you were out of town? I remember. You told me to go to Karen's party even though you couldn't, so I went. Cindy was with her sick mother, so Dave was there alone. When he saw I was alone, he stuck by me all night, acting like my protector. But he wasn't very good at it. Someone, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was Dave, spiked one of my drinks with a date maltreatment pill. Dave didn't see it happen, but he noticed I was acting strange and thinks Kyle Barger might have been involved since Kyle had been around me a lot that night. Anyway, Dave took me home. But from there, I don't remember much, just what Dave told me later. He said when he got me home, he undressed me and put me to bed. Then he undressed himself and got in bed with me. He admitted he had always wanted me and saw this as his chance, thinking I wouldn't remember it in the morning. Apparently, he didn't understand how date maltreatment pills work because I started coming out of it while he was on top of me. As I became aware, my body was already fully involved. By the time I realized what was happening, I was already deep into it, and I was reacting just like I would during normal lovemaking. You know how I get when I'm close to peak? I become completely mindless. That's exactly where I was when I started waking up, begging for more without even realizing it was Dave. That's when your dad showed up. He came by to check on me like you always ask him to do when you're away. He saw what was happening and started taking pictures. I didn't even know he was there. He took several pictures, then undressed and joined in. After Dave finished, your dad got on top of me. Then Dave went again. By the time Dave took me a second time, I realized who it was, but I was too far gone to care. I don't remember how many times they both took me, but it was enough to exhaust me, and I fell asleep. The next day, Dave came by and begged me not to tell you or Cindy what happened. While he was there, your dad showed up again, saying he wanted more. When I told him to leave, he laughed and showed me the pictures he had taken. He said if I kept him happy, you'd never see them. I couldn't let you see those pictures. They didn't show a woman being taken advantage of. They showed someone who looked like they loved it. I should have trusted you and told them both to get lost, but hindsight is 20/20. How many times? I asked. Every time you went on a trip. I stared at her for a moment. Karen's party was 7 months ago, and I've been on at least a dozen trips since then. I paused, thinking. More than a half dozen. 9 trips, counting that one. She looked away, and in that moment, I knew. I don't know how, but I just knew. Sonia, you kept doing it because you liked it. You never came to me to explain what happened or trusted me to believe your story. She looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before and said, No, I didn't just like it. I loved it. I wanted even more, but I couldn't risk it when you were home. I really thought that if I only did it when you were away, you'd never find out. I loved it, but I love you and didn't want to lose you. Were David and my father the only ones? No, 3 times your dad brought 3 other guys. Great, so you did gangbangs. You slept with 9 men, and I bet you loved that too. I did, but it wasn't 9. It was the same 3 each time. Do I know them? Are they people I see who'll be laughing behind my back? No, I think they were just customers your dad wanted to show a good time. I don't get it, Sonia. You say you love me, but you did this. For 7 months, my father and brother laughed at me behind my back. They treated me like a fool. And now 3 customers I deal with every day are secretly mocking me too. You love me, yet you did this? You could have told me if I wasn't enough in the bedroom, I would have worked to be better. It's not about you, baby. You satisfy me every time. It's about quantity, not quality. When you're done, you need time to recover, but I can keep going and going. It's just how we're built. Put 5 guys and a girl in a room, and you'll find 1 guy with her, another waiting to get hard again, and 3 more waiting their turn. But if you put 5 women with a guy, they'll all be watching him, waiting for him to be ready again. It's biology. There was no love in it. I don't even like your dad or brother anymore. They're both jerks. And yet you let them move in with you? They had nowhere else to go, and in a way, I felt responsible. I could have stopped it after the first time, but I didn't. I let it happen. And because of that, we got caught. When they moved in, I told them there'd be no more intimacy. I didn't know if I could ever win you back, but I knew there was no chance if I kept up with them. One night, they tried to get me drunk, but I caught on. I raised the tool toward my dad, making it clear I wasn't afraid to use it. You thought you had a chance of getting me back after all this? After I saw everything with my own eyes? I had hope. I know we see it differently, but aside from the shock of finding out, did it really hurt you? You got all the love and attention you could handle. I never said no to you, and most of the time I came after you. That's not true. You've said no plenty of times. When? Every time I wanted to try bum stuff, you shut me down. But my father didn't have any problem with it. I didn't give it to him willingly. He and Dave took it when I was pilled, and I found out I liked it. After that, you never asked for it again. I thought about suggesting it, but I figured you'd get suspicious since I'd refused so many times before. I was waiting for you to ask again, but you never did. She paused, then said, "Now that we're talking about it, maybe it could be a great welcome home gift." "Maybe, but I'm not coming home." Her face fell. "Why not? Why would I stay with a woman I know I can't satisfy? A woman who will always want more than I can give?" "I never said that. You've always satisfied me. I don't need more than you can give me. Yes, I found out I liked more, but I don't need it. What I need is you. If you have to get even with me, go find someone else for payback. But please, please come home to me." I reflected on everything that had happened and decided to keep quiet. I admit I was tempted to take her up on the welcome home gift, but that never happened. Before anything could, the front door burst open and my brother David stormed in with a cane in one hand and a Colt in the other. "I've been waiting for you, you jerk. I'm going to take out your knees and see how you like it. I'm your brother. How could you do this to me?" "What? Did you expect a medal for sleeping with my wife? I should have killed you." "Shut up," he shouted, pointing the tool at my knees. Before I could react, Sonia screamed, "No!" and threw herself in front of me just as David fired. Both of us were stunned, but I recovered first. I tackled him, knocking the tool out of his hand and punched him several times. He fell to the ground and I grabbed the tool, hitting him in the head with it. Then I turned to Sonia, who was bleeding on the floor. I called 911 and rushed to get a towel to try to stop the bleeding. She looked up at me, gasping, "Don't leave me. Please don't leave me." The EMTs and police arrived shortly after, and they called another ambulance for David. Apparently, I had hit him too hard. He kept coming to while I was trying to help Sonia, so I had to knock him out again, about 6 times in total. It was chaos for a while. Sonia was bleeding, David was down, and I was the only one still standing. After explaining everything to the police and playing them the recording I had made on my phone, they believed my story. But shortly after they left, I got the call. Sonia had died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. I struggled with it. Her actions had shown me how much she cared, and if she had survived, I might have given our marriage another chance. The whole thing made the news. About a week later, Jess showed up at my house, giving me a hug and asking, "How are you holding up?" "Just barely. What brings you here?" "I saw what Mom went through when she lost Dad. I thought you might need someone too. We shared something special, and I thought maybe I could help." We spent the next 5 months together, before she ended it telling me she'd met someone and needed to move on. David's trial came almost 8 months after everything happened. He tried to claim it was an accident, but no one believed him. He was sentenced to 20 years to life. On the day of his sentencing, Cindy called me with a favor. She wanted me to take her to bed so she could tell David. I didn't see a reason to say no, so I did. She wore me out, then went to visit David the next day and told him. Instead of getting angry, he just sat there and cried. A week later, Cindy came back and asked, "I could use a friend with benefits. Know anyone who might be interested?" We spent another 4 months together before she got a promotion that took her to Dallas. I was sorry to see her go and even considered moving with her, but she talked me out of it. "I like you, Rob, but I don't love you. I need to find someone I can love. I'm starting a new life in Dallas, and I hope to find what I need there." My father tried multiple times to reach out, but I refused to speak to him. When he died of a stroke, I went to his funeral and made a public spectacle by urinating into his grave as they lowered his coffin. Later, I learned from my mom the names of 3 customers my father was close to. I couldn't be sure they were the ones who had been with Sonia, but in my mind, I decided they were. I didn't physically harm them, but I did mess with them through the business. They ended up paying more than other customers, and they missed out on quantity discounts. It wasn't much, but I needed to do something. I know it was petty, but I couldn't help myself. Maybe it was all in my head, but I felt like I saw a smirk on their faces when we spoke. Whatever, I'm only human. And like most people, I had a need to get even. Maybe I was wrong, but it made me feel better. Then about 10 months after all this, I got a surprising call while reading the financial page of the New York Times. "Hello, Rob? It's Maggie. Do you remember me?" "Yeah, I do. My sister saved your number when you let me use your phone to call her." "I remember. Well, she insisted I make this call. Believe me, I didn't really want to, but she said you deserve to know." "Know what?" You're a father. You have twin sons. You've got to be kidding me. I'm not. You're the only person I've ever been with. There was a pause before she said, I'm not asking for anything. I only called because my sister thought it was the right thing to do. 36 hours later, I was knocking on a door in Houston, ready to start a new chapter. It's been years since that day I stood on the doorstep in Houston, ready to face the life I had never expected. Time changes things in ways I never could have predicted. I learned that in some strange way, fatherhood suited me. It gave me something real to hold on to, something that wasn't tainted by betrayal or lies. Maggie was wary at first, but I proved to her that I was committed to being there for the boys. We didn't try to force anything between us, but we managed to create a life together, one built not on passion or love, but on something far more dependable: respect. Every so often I think about the people I left behind. The graves, the courtroom dramas, the half-hearted goodbyes. They're like ghosts that linger, but they don't haunt me anymore. I did what I had to do, and I've made my peace with it. My father's betrayal, David's pathetic attempts to drag me down, Sonia's lies, they don't define me. They were chapters in my life, yes, but they weren't the whole story. My mother, surprisingly, ended up doing just fine. She took control of the business, and with me gone, she cut all ties with the family's old connections. Sometimes I think she blames herself for what happened, but she's moved on in her own way. She even remarried, a man I've never met. She's happy, or so I'm told. I don't visit much. We talk and it's civil, but I haven't felt the need to return home. There's nothing left for me there. As for Cindy, I heard she finally found someone who treated her right. We exchanged a few messages over the years, but we both knew that what we had was fleeting. She was always smarter than me when it came to emotional matters. She saw the end long before I did. I wish her well, but we've moved on to separate lives. Maggie's boys, my boys, are the best thing that ever happened to me. Watching them grow, teaching them right from wrong, and making sure they never repeat the mistakes I made. That's what keeps me grounded. Every time they laugh, every time they run to me after school, I know I've done something right. It's ironic, really. I spent so many years trying to escape my past, and here I am, shaping a future for two kids who saved me from becoming the man I hated. I'm not proud of everything I did, but I don't regret it either. I've learned to live with the choices I made. Life doesn't give you neat endings or happy resolutions. Sometimes you just survive, and in that survival, you find a new purpose. For me, that purpose wasn't revenge or getting even. It was learning how to move forward, to be better, even when the past tried to drag me back. In the end, I became someone I could live with, and that's more than I could have hoped for.